Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Golden Bachelorette, who is Chock Chapple's first wife? During the first episode of the Golden Bachelorette contestant, Chock Chapple talked about his divorce from his first wife. After that, Chock was engaged to another woman for 9 years. But who is Chock's first wife, and what is known about their marriage? Joan Vassos has a tough decision. Undeniably, the Golden Bachelorette. Joan Vassos knows that dating after 50 comes with connecting with people who have many life experiences behind them. Oftentimes, by a person's 50s and 60s, they have gone through great loss. For Joan, she lost her husband, John Vassos, and was left with dreams that could never be completed. But she is opening her heart to dream new dreams with a different man in the picture. While her final 3 men have each had a divorce, who is Chock Chapple's first wife? Who is Chock Chapple's first wife? Many of the stories that Joan Vassos and Chock Chapple relate over include his fiancé who died from cancer, much like Joan's husband. However, before he and Catherine Elizabeth White-Goury's 9-year engagement, Chock had a previous marriage. During Hometowns, fans saw his 2 children, Taylor and Tyler Chapple. Chock shares his children with his first wife, Heather Chapple. Like Chock, she is an insurance agent. Chock and Heather's marriage lasted 12 years before the relationship ended in divorce. Although divorce generally comes with difficult feelings and heartbreak, both Heather and Chock have navigated theirs with friendship. Not to say it was easy, but they have managed to co-parent their children and remain on good terms. Undoubtedly, this is a true testament to his character. The devil's in the details. Initially, Chock Chapple took Heather's hand in marriage on June 29, 1998, in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Sadly, Heather filed for divorce on July 26, 2010. The reason stated was incompatibility. According to Life and Style, documents said, the marriage relationship of the parties has deteriorated due to a state of incompatibility between the parties, and petitioner is entitled to a decree of divorce on these grounds. Together, they finalized the divorce on September 27, 2010. Concerning their children, Taylor, born in 1999, and Tyler, born in 2001, the courts ruled to award joint legal custody to both Heather and Chock. However, Heather had the primary residency of the children at that time. Additionally, Heather was also granted ownership of their marital residence in Wichita, KS. Furthermore, Chock was required to pay Heather an equalization payment of $342,884 as part of the property division within 30 days. Likewise, Heather received the Florida residence in Vero Beach, to which Chock signed over a quitclaim deed to the property. This released his interest in the property. Chock Chapple agreed to child support. Many tough decisions came with Chock Chapple and his ex-wife's divorce. One area was child support and custody. At first, each month, Chock Chapple paid $2,025 in child support. Additionally, he had to provide health insurance for the children. However, their agreement had no spousal support at the time of divorce. Likewise, each party was responsible for their attorney fees. In the end, Chock kept his 2009 Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Their individual value was $13,500. Likewise, he also received many other household goods and furnishings in his possession. However, Heather got the 2006 Lexus 470. While she had the car, Chock had to pay off the $20,000 loan. Additionally, Chock Chapple took 100% of the common capital stock shares in their commercial insurance group, CIG, insurance company. Furthermore, he also had a 100% interest in Chapple Rentals LLC. Together, the businesses totaled over $1.3 million according to the documentation. Split time. Although Heather and Chock Chapple have good standing with each other, there were still many aspects that had to be settled and revisited through the years. In September 2012, the child living arrangement and child support agreement changed. It became a 1 week on and 1 week off schedule due to Heather's work needs. At that time, she was frequently traveling between Kansas and Colorado. Likewise, in 2015, his portion of the child support decreased significantly to $755 per month. Then, 2 years later, his child support agreement ended altogether. Later, in August 2017, Chock was awarded primary residential custody of their children. At that time, Heather was required to pay child support to Chock for $560 per month. In 2017, his gross annual income was reportedly $218,724. Joan Vassos stood at the edge of the Mediterranean villa's marble terrace, her golden gown rippling in the wind like a banner of hope and hesitation. Below, waves crashed against the cliffs of Santorini, nature's own soundtrack to the chaos that swirled in her heart. Who knew that at 61, finding love would be more dramatic than prom night, more intense than her first wedding, and more unpredictable than menopause? She had come on the golden Bachelorette with her heart wide open and her past tucked quietly behind a smile. Widowed for over a decade, with grown children and a grandbaby on the way, Joan thought she had seen it all. But nothing prepared her for this emotional storm. A dozen silver-haired suitors, each with their own baggage, charisma, and surprisingly chiseled jawlines. At first, it had all felt like a dream. Private jets, champagne toasts, candlelit dinners. Each man brought a story, a rose, and often an oddly specific allergy. There was Charles, the poet from Vermont who claimed he once dated a Kennedy. Guy, the retired fire chief who seemed more interested in doing push-ups than talking about his feelings. And of course, there was Mark, charming, well-dressed, and nearly 20 years her junior. The producers loved Mark. America loved Mark. Even her daughter texted her from back home, "If you don't pick Mark, I will." But Joan wasn't so sure. Behind the scenes, Mark had begun to show signs of being more interested in fame than family. His social media following grew by the thousands with every rose he accepted. He whispered sweet nothings into her ear during the day, and then FaceTimed a podcast host by night. And then came the hometowns. Ah, hometowns. That magical, terrifying part of the journey where fantasy met reality, and reality often punched you in the face. When Joan visited Guy's Florida home, his adult daughter pulled her aside and asked if Joan was just another TV fling. The question stung, but Joan kept her composure. "I'm not here for a fling," she said softly. "I'm here for my future." Later that week, Charles serenaded her under the stars with a poem that made her cry, not because it was moving, but because it was plagiarized from a Maya Angelou piece she knew by heart. But it was Mark's hometown that truly changed everything. They arrived in Napa Valley, where he claimed to have grown up stomping grapes with his Italian grandmother. But when she met his family, they greeted her like she was an Uber Eats driver. His mom barely looked up from her phone, and his brother asked, "So how do you feel about prenups?" That night, Joan sat in the guest room and cried. Not the pretty, mascara down the cheek tears that look good on camera. Real tears, the kind that make your chest ache. Was she really ready to trust her heart again? Was any of this even real? Back at the villa, the final rose ceremony loomed. Producers scrambled. Makeup artists hovered. And Joan stared out at the sea, her thoughts as scattered as the waves below. 3 men remained. Charles, who had apologized profusely and promised never to plagiarize again. Guy, who had sent her a letter every night since she'd left Florida. Handwritten, scented with cologne, probably doused in sincerity. And Mark. Handsome, charming Mark, who had just inked a deal for his own wine label called Final Rose. In the quiet moments between takes, Joan confided in the show's therapist. "I thought love would feel easier now, that I'd be wiser. But it's more complicated than ever." The therapist nodded. "Because now you know what it costs." Joan nodded slowly. She remembered the long nights with her late husband, the battles over bills, the quiet Sundays, the small victories, the shared grief when they lost their dog. The joy when their first grandchild was born. Real love wasn't glamorous, it wasn't filtered. It was messy, honest, and hard-won. So on the night of the final rose, as candles flickered and violins swelled, Joan made a choice. She gave the first rose to Guy, the second to Charles. Mark stood there stunned. The camera zoomed in on his perfectly shocked expression. "Mark," Joan said gently, "you're incredible. But I think you're still looking for something you haven't quite named yet. And I can't be that for you." He tried to protest. "Joan, you don't know what we have." She smiled. A soft, tired smile. "I do. But I also know what I deserve." As he walked away, jaw clenched and jawline glistening, Joan felt relief. The final week was quieter. No champagne toasts. No choreographed hot tub scenes. Just real conversations, tears, laughter, and an unscripted moment in the kitchen where Guy spilled coffee and she helped clean it up while barefoot in her robe. It felt like home.